Hello and welcome to the Cybersecurity Basics mini module. My name is Rebecca and I'll be taking you through the reasons why we need to be concerned with cybersecurity and how we can combat the threats we face day to day. In this session, we will take a look at what threats we're up against, what happens when things go wrong, and what we can do to stop it, or at least reduce the undesired effects. I will show you how hackers decide who to attack when their mission is to steal. I will also be talking about security layering techniques and governance to help reduce risks to your business. So let's get started. Here we can see threats that we need to protect from. In front of you is not an exhaustive list, more a sample of the most common forms of attack we come up against every day. Most are intentional, but some are merely an accident. If we think about the types of malware infections, and there are a few, they can include worms, trojans, and viruses. These types of attacks infect your machine and can cause all sorts of havoc. For example, a Trojan can download to your computer disguised as a legitimate program. Once installed, it can start sending files to a malicious actor or destroy the contents of a hard disk. Similarly, a worm infection is a software which can replicate rapidly and spread across devices connected to a network. Worms can change or delete files and introduce other malware. Phishing and smishing attacks are a form of social engineering. Usually, you will receive an email, text message, or IM message which appears to be from a legitimate source, perhaps your bank or your boss. The content will create a sense of urgency and require you to open an attachment or click on a link. Phishing is designed to steal data, often your login credentials, or can unleash malware such as ransomware. Human error is the most common threat we face. Because we are human, we make mistakes, like sending confidential emails which include the wrong person, or we attach an incorrect file and expose sensitive data. As humans, we might forget to shred confidential papers and instead put them into the recycling bin, leaving the data exposed to anyone who might walk by and pick it up. We can lose devices or use insecure passwords, which leaves us open to data theft and other attacks. Humans are not infallible. We get tired, complacent, and are often in a hurry. One slip can cause a whole host of issues. Zero-day attacks are where hackers have found a vulnerability within software or networks that developers are unaware of. They will exploit it to gain access to systems and services. The most famous zero-day attack was that of Sony Networks, where hackers used a specific exploit in poor code to silently access the network and vital information very quickly. Around 80% of zero-day attacks are successful. Suffering any attack is likely to be costly for your organization, both in time and money. It can even attract the attention of the authorities, which can result in fines, prosecution, and reputation damage. So the more we do to guard against cyber attack, the less likely it is to happen. Here are some examples of the best known and probably scariest hacks to date. These examples show how things can go horribly wrong, but are also a reminder of how things could have been a lot worse. First up, the Ukraine blackout. On the 23rd of December 2015, hackers, using the Black Energy malware, remotely compromised 3 large energy distribution companies and temporarily disrupted the energy supply to customers for 6 hours. Due to the Christmas holidays, very few engineers were on hand to address the issue. This attack could have been far worse. Had the hackers got to all power supplies and cut them off, they could have held the entire country to ransom. Hacking group Sandworm again attempted to take out power networks in 2022, but failed as lessons had been learned. This attack shows that we are at risk of mass blackouts. Hacktivists, who wish to stop the use of raw materials, are repeatedly attacking power supplies in the UK in an attempt to cause this type of disruption. Now, for us to see a great example of theft on one of the largest heists in history, all we have to do is look back to 2013, when hackers managed to get into the world's largest Bitcoin exchange, and they made off for $460 million in stolen cash. Organisational compromise is one of the favourites of malicious actors. Back in 2013, a 13-year-old managed to hack NASA, and he got access to program source code. Source code is the keys to the kingdom. With source code, you can make changes to any system, website, or software the code is designed for. It's pretty embarrassing for NASA. Then, later in 2017, the NHS was hit with the WannaCry ransomware attack, which affected more than 60 trusts. This resulted in patients being moved from affected facilities and led to major delays in accessing patient records, conducting surgeries, and some hospitals had to divert ambulances to other facilities. The WannaCry attack cost taxpayers a cool £92 million. Another devastating attack happened to Sony back in April 2011. They suffered a network attack which left them offline for 24 days. Users could not get onto the PlayStation network, while hackers were busy downloading personal details from 77 million online accounts. Sony stated that the remedial work needed, as well as preparing compensation and insurances for users, cost them in the region of $171 million. Cyber attacks are a huge threat to organisations of all types. It could just be a 13-year-old in his bedroom trying out new skills he learned from YouTube. It could be hacktivists trying to force organisations or governments to work in a different way. Or it could be criminals who are just out for notoriety and to steal from you. Whoever and whatever their reason, it is best for you to know that you are under attack. If the equipment you use day to day has embedded firmware and an internet connection, it can be hacked, and at some point someone will try. So how do hackers decide who they're going to attack? Honestly, sometimes it's merely down to just someone testing what they can do by chancing on a website. But more often, hackers have specific goals and will pick targets based on lack of security. Much like when a burglar checks out a neighbourhood for a house to rob, he's looking for the quickest and most undetectable way to get the goods and scarper before he's noticed. The house on the left is equipped with security cameras and a security fence. It has an alarm, a deadbolted door, and secure double-glazed windows. It's in the middle of the street, which is overlooked by its neighbours. The house on the right has single glazed windows, a single locked door, and no monitoring features. The house is situated in a poorly lit part of the street and isn't overlooked by any neighbours. Which house do we think the burglar will choose to break into? The house on the right will allow the burglar to make a quick entry, likely undetected, steal what he wants and leave again, quickly and efficiently. No one will know until the owners get home and realise that their belongings are missing. Hackers who are out to steal data or funds operate this same way. They are far more likely to attack a network which has little monitoring and security. The networks which are lacking in intrusion detection and prevention tools are the most exposed. Hackers know this is a quick and easy win. Networks which are loaded with security monitoring, alert systems and device control are far less likely to be compromised, as it's far from the quick win the malicious actor is searching for. Unfortunately, even when having the best security program in the world, there is still a risk that you may be compromised. This is down to the fact that when a hacker has enough time, the right skills and tools, they can hack anything with an internet connection. But they are far less likely to try and even less likely to get away with it if your security takes the onion approach. Onion security, or security layering techniques, are used to protect networks, devices, and data. As you can see from this slide, there is a lot to effective security layering. By ensuring we use the base method of identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover, we can build a well-rounded security program. Onion security should include governance activities like the identification of assets and associated risk, understanding security controls and monitoring activities, as well as including incident response and correction. Your security program should start by performing a risk assessment to identify threats to company assets. This will then help you decide on the security controls you will need to combat those threats. As part of your risk assessment, you will apply controls to mitigate those risks. Consideration should be given to the risks posed to your networks, people, processes, and devices, not forgetting your premises. Those mitigations become your security rules, which should be documented in the form of policy and procedure. Documenting policies and procedures will underpin your security program and make the rules enforceable. When applying security control, we first look to prevent the breach. There are many preventative controls we can use depending on the risk. A good example of a preventative security control is access control. We make sure that users have their own username and password, and ideally multi-factor authentication enabled. We then create rules for producing strong passwords and keeping them secret, alongside enabling multi-factor authentication in order to control access to company data. This not only forms the basis of your written policies and procedures, but also the basis for your employee training and awareness program. In many cases, preventative controls will stop malicious actors and programs from getting access from your data. Although, where a preventative control is not effective enough and access is breached, we need to be able to detect the breach and respond accordingly. This is where intrusion detection systems come into play. It's a very good idea to have a program like ESET Security in place, which continually monitors devices and networks for anomalies. It can identify and isolate a threat. It can also send alerts to your IT team so they too can respond. It is an excellent security layer to have, and more often than not, it will successfully block attacks and malware, keeping your network, devices, and data safe. What security controls should we be considering? Controls are always designed based on the security risk. So, if we have identified physical risks as part of our risk assessment, then controls like door locks, CCTV, and asset management should be applied. When we consider network and application risks, then it's good practice to implement information security controls, which include intrusion detection and intrusion prevention software, strong authentication controls like multi-factor authentication, and vulnerability scanning and patching. When considering people and device security risks, we need to think about the use of locks, passwords for devices, and endpoint monitoring. This can be strengthened with training and awareness programs for employees, background checking, and security stipulations within contracts. And remember, underpinning your security program with good governance is what the Data Protection Act requires, so this puts you in good stead from a legal perspective. Unfortunately, many organisations only act once they have suffered a breach and have found out the true cost firsthand. You can avoid this. For many of you, taking this course was your first step. Now you have some knowledge to take the next. If you feel like you might need a bit of help designing your security program, training your employees, or even just checking and benchmarking where you currently are, Strident can help. We offer a range of cybersecurity products and services to keep your networks and devices secure. We can help you ensure that your people enact the very best and most secure behaviours through our training and awareness programs. Or, if you're looking to demonstrate and advertise your amazing security program by implementing an ISO standard, get in touch with us. We can help. That brings us to the end of the cybersecurity mini module. Remember, even implementing the smallest of changes can make a big difference. Thank you for your time in watching this mini module. If you enjoyed it, there are more available free of charge. Just head over to our website to find out more.